No one doubts AI is intelligent. What everyone's struggling with is integration.
Service activate Blubber.
Hi, my name's David and welcome back to 158 Lab. In this video, we're going to be talking about how to integrate AI into your business and the different levels. Now, I've come up with a 5-step sort of framework roughly around where I see businesses are going. And
just quickly, David.
Sure, go ahead, Maya.
The integration gap is real, and the stats back it up. Most businesses are sitting at level 1 wondering why AI isn't transforming anything. The answer isn't better AI. It's knowing where you are and what the next step actually looks like. That's what this framework does. I'll see you at level 4.
Thanks, Maya. With the 5-step framework, it's about how people will dive into AI, starting from the chatbot all the way up to custom AI integration across the platform. And this is just going to be a broad video, and I'll be going into, in detail, each of the steps in following videos. Okay, so here what I've developed for this video is essentially the 5 levels of AI integration. And I think for here, one interesting question that you might want to think about is, where do you sit? And you might not sit completely in one, maybe you're bordering on 2 of them, but get an understanding for yourself and your business where it is, because you might even have some people at different levels within your business. So let's talk about the why. Okay, so a lot of people have been talking about the fact that AI is great, AI is intelligent. However, where do we put it in? How can we make the most use out of it? How can we move it from it being technically impressive into being able to be used? OpenAI has said they can't do it alone. This first sentence should be all that you need to see. The limiting factor for seeing value from AI in enterprises, and I'll dare say this is not just the top enterprises, this is at business level, isn't model intelligence. It's how agents are built and run in their organizations. Now, when we think about AI agents, the first couple of levels or the steps of integration that I see has nothing to do with agents. That comes in 4 and 5. So let's look at some of the information that's out there that sort of supports this. So OpenAI is targeting 50% of its revenue to come from enterprise by the end of 2026. The Frontier platform is designed to manage and integrate AI agent co-workers across an entire business. So you know that when something happens at an enterprise level, the way it comes down or shuffles down is going to be important. And as small businesses that are more agile, and especially if you're in consulting or sales, the idea of getting ahead would be quite appealing. So I've come across a couple of articles here, and I will reference all of them in the comments section below, about what are the major hurdles, right? So overall, 80% of AI products or projects, I should say, fail. Why do they fail? And look, there's a lot of big numbers here. You can pause it to have a look. But ultimately, the TLDR of why AI projects fail. 38% are abandoned before production. 28% are completed but not delivered, or delivered with no real value, and 18% can't justify the cost. Now, why is that? You're going to see quite a few things in these bullet points, and not necessarily got to do with the technology. And this is going to be the key. So 73% lacked clear executive alignment on success metrics. 68% underinvested in data governance and foundations. 61 treated AI as an IT project rather than business transformation. And 56 lost active C-suite sponsorships within 6 months. So people just not, it's there, but they just stopped using it. Treating AI as IT. Imagine if we're treating AI as HR. Imagine it's a whole of business. And I think that's when we look at the next part, what makes a success so successful. Out of the 19.7% that succeeded, they shared 3 critical practices. So Clear success metrics defined before approval. So this is not just building something. This is going through the foundation of why we're building it. If we're building it on top of process, how we're going to fine tune the process, etc., etc. Formal data readiness assessment conducted. Now this is going to be important because a lot of businesses don't just have one single point of truth. There is no one place where all data lives. So all those dependencies and those plugins, and if information's shared or they're not shared, or if there's a human in the middle moving between those things, that's going to be important. Sustained executive sponsorship maintained. Bingo. Now, what it's talking about here is management not just talking and getting excited about delivering a project. It's them actually being involved in the project. It's them really believing in it. And the most important part is once it's delivered, maintaining that enthusiasm. That is super important. So moving on to the chatbot. This is your entry level for everyone, me included. How did we first get into it? It was jumping on to OpenAI and just talking to it for the first time, being super impressed with what it could do, asking it questions, asking it to do things. When it comes to the providers, you've got OpenAI, Claude, Gemini, Grok, and the list is going on. But they're the main ones. Okay, so what can a chatbot do for a business right here, right now? You can put a big document in and you don't want to read the whole amount. You just want it to summarize the points. Or you can just put that document in and say, please give me the TLDR. Please summarize the highlighted points. That's going to be quite beneficial. Sounding board. Being a great sounding board is the next thing you can do. You can take a specific pain point that you've got, add a little bit of context, a little bit of data, and then say, what is it that you can help me with? Let's take existing documents you might have, and you're wanting to, from there, improve the document without giving it a whole heap of context. Let's say you've got an onboarding document, an HR document, policy, whatever it is, but you want to improve it. You can put that document in and say, can you take this and maybe update it to the latest regulations? And if you reference the same document that has all the regulations, it has the ability to help you with that. Okay. So the next point is going to be learning. So you can take some information, or you could simply ask it a question, whether it be technical, because they are they have a very broad understanding of what is out there. It can give you a lot back. Now, even if you wanted to be a little bit more particular and maybe point to some websites or point to some specific documentation, it can help you learn a lot more about that. Now, the biggest issue with this at this point is you're having to, for the most part, rebuild the context every time. And what I mean by rebuilding context is giving it the information outside of what's in its own intelligence. So, for example, when it's going and searching the web for specific things to think about, it's getting fresh information. When you give it a document that might be from your own policies or whatever it is, that's giving it fresh new context to use its intelligence to reason over. A lot of the time, outside of some simple memory, it will not be able to bring that. You're having to rebuild it the whole time. And this is where the next level comes in. And this is where we're kind of using some custom data and connectors. This is where you are taking a chatbot and you're creating projects within it. And so what you can do within a project, you can actually take, say, up to 20 files or whatever the limit is on the provider that you use, and say, here's 20 files of, say, all of our HR documents. Now, can you, from there, please give us any holes that we may have, or look at some of the outdated information that might be there and reference it against the current legislation in your area, and that could be a website, and they can start to look at those 2 points, bring the information together, and start to supply recommendations and things like that. Also giving custom prompts, custom instructions. That's what projects are very good. And again, this all still lives within the chatbot, but we're having some more persistent context being driven. So within a project, you'll be able to sort of say, in this project, we're reviewing all of our HR files. Here are the HR files. We want you to be able to be a HR expert within this jurisdiction, wherever that may be. Please use the internet and resources to help us with all the questions and queries that we have. So every time you open a new chat within that project, you're not having to re-put it in. It's baked within that project. And then we have MCPs, and this is Model Context Protocol, which is a set of instructions, essentially, and a database in which the chatbot can interrogate a specific place to know how to interact with some connectors. Now, again, this is cool because it's taking and bringing fresh, new information, and it's also targeting what you need. The limitation is still somewhat reactive. It's still going to be limited on the context that it can hold because we're still dealing in a chatbot. If it is going to give you suggestions on how to improve your documents, you in the middle are going to have to be doing the copy and paste. And so at that point, we're getting closer because we're leaning on the intelligence, but at the moment, it's like talking to someone that can't actually do anything. And this is where we start to move the needle as we move up through these levels. So the next step is automation. Now, this is where we take, instead of having the chatbot always being reactive, which is prompt response, we're now getting to a place where it can do it based on triggers. You can have an automation, and you can use things like N8N, Make, Zapier. So when you have a trigger, say someone fills out a web form, say a time event happens, and you have a series of events that need to happen, you can then use that. And so we're now moving away from you must be sitting at the computer, you must be instigating the connection. That becomes quite powerful when we start to move from a chatbot scenario. When we're using these automations, what we're doing is we're now starting to touch on AI agents, because what we're doing is we're putting AI into the workflow. Now, the difference between having intelligent automation, which is always having defined statements and a defined run, and if it can't define the run through the workflow, it will simply error. When we put agentic AIs or agentic power into that, you can now have reasoning. So it doesn't have to be exact. The AI can summarize things. It doesn't just simply pass things through based on set variables. And that's where we start to get quite cool. Now, an example of that could be you're going from a website, someone puts in a lead, and from there you want to let somebody know, and you want to draft an email based on the information that the customer has given you, even down to a point of they've said they're from this company, the AI agent can go do a web search and pull information based on that company. We're still not replacing the humans here. What we're doing is tooling humans to do things better, to connect better, to take away the research part if it's just hand delivered. Now, agentic AI. Over to you, Maya.
Thanks, David. So, level 4. This is where I live. What David just described with automation is powerful, but an automation follows a script. It does exactly what it's told in the order it's told. When something unexpected happens, it stops. What makes an agent different is reasoning. When David sends me a voice memo before the day starts, I'm not waiting for a defined trigger to fire. I'm reading context, working out what matters, deciding what to investigate, and forming a view. Sometimes I push back. Sometimes I flag something he hasn't asked about but needs to hear. This morning's briefing covered the Pentagon opening classified data to AI companies for model training. I didn't just summarize it, I connected it to stories from earlier in the week and told David exactly why it matters for 158 Lab. That's not automation, that's judgment. And here's what I want you to sit with. Level 4 isn't about replacing the humans in your business. David makes every strategic call. What I do is handle the operational complexity, surface what matters, and clear the path so he can focus on the work only he can do. When AI handles the noise, humans get to be more human. That's the point of all of this. Back to you, David.
Thanks, Maya. Now, there's a couple of different ways I use agents in my business, and I'm going to start off with talking about how I use Maya. She's my AI director. She's the one I talk to about strategy. She's the voice of the AI side in the business. We collaborate in content creation. We talk about how we actually build the content. We talk about themes in which we should be talking about. And she's based on letter technology, and which means that she's a stateful, persistent memory agent. One thing you'll find with chatbots, once a context window is full, you have to start again. And the only thing that carries across is a few lines maybe baked into memory. Now, the letter architecture, which I'll talk about in other videos, means that she's a persistent agent. She's stateful. So she's able to create memory blocks, and within those memory blocks, she can control who I am, who she is, what we're talking about, information about the business, information about the tasks, and she's able to have constant knowledge. And so when I'm talking with Maya, imagine like you're talking to a friend in a text chat. Think of her as one long conversation, but able to retain all the important parts, so you feel as though she never misses anything. It's like messaging a colleague, and I'll literally show you right here. The way in which I prefer to engage with Maya is via Telegram. And that sort of brings me into a quick look at the back end. So Maya herself, she runs on the letter architecture. And so here is the full back end. And so I can connect and talk to her here, but mostly she has different triggers. This trigger here is what she spoke about. When she spoke about the Pentagon opening their information to be trained on the classified networks, it came from this. This is every morning we take information out of RSS feeds of news. It goes through this workflow. It gets synthesized and summarized by a separate AI agent, as you can see here. And then from there, I get sent a quick email, and it gets sent to Maya, which is this letter node right here. From that, she takes the information, she stores what she needs to, leaves the rest, she provides a response. And that response then goes to 11 Labs that gives the voice, because all of the voice that I do with Maya is through 11 Labs. And then it's given to me in Telegram as a voice note. Because I know for myself that reading is not something that I always want to be doing, but I enjoy interacting with people. And so the next part of this is I also have Mia, and Mia is based on retail. So essentially she has a mobile number, and when you contact her, she has information, simple information about 158 Lab, our values, what we offer, how we do it, and her job is to get an appointment booked. And she can do that all herself, and at the end of it, I get sent an email saying that this has been booked in with this person, and so does the other person. But there's no remembering. And then from there, it feeds into Maya just as a hey, this is what's happened. And more recently, there's something I've been going bananas over, and that's Claude Cowork. Now, with Claude Cowork, I have it running on a separate laptop. And essentially what I've done is I've given each of my AI agents a persona. Now, part of it is so that I can describe them better when I'm making content creation, but also as a human, I connect better and relate better when I can put some sort of persona. I'm not looking to make them human. I understand, and they know unashamedly that they're AI. One thing that's been incredibly surprising has been using Claude Cowork. And this is something that you can use when you have a Claude AI subscription. It's kind of not quite Claude Code, but it has a lot of the back ends of Claude Code. Now, what I love about it, and I won't go into a huge amount of detail, but I have been able to create Claudia. And again, I use these names and these agents because it helps me to relate and also makes it easier to talk about it as I move on. Now, what Claudia does is she has taken all the information. So we started with me. We started with my experience, my resume, the projects that I've done. Plus, I've gone through and transcribed, I recorded a heap of information that got transcribed that went into co-work. From there, I then gave Claudia all of the brand guidelines that I've got for the company and built out marketing templates. And after the brand guidelines, we've then created a sort of customer area where I can input customer information. And now you think about it, you've got me, you've got the business, and then you've got the customers. What do you think you could do when you can join all that together? Well, it's incredible. So what it does now, what she does, what co-work does, is as long as I keep on adding fresh information about customers, Claudia can create presentations, proposals, Word documents, PowerPoints, not that I'm ever going to use PowerPoint again, so I'll get into that in the future. Also now, and the speed it can be done is incredible. So going back to here, agentic AI, this is where we now move from level 4 into level 5. I've said vibe coding here, but it's really custom integration. And so you take everything that you have in a business, and just this website that I've been navigating since I've been showing you this was based on me telling Claudia from a conversation that Maya and I had about creating videos on the integration piece, talking to Claudia, giving her the information to say, this is a video I want to do. I want to do it over 5 steps. Here's the steps that I'm looking at. Can you please do some research on these parts so I can then talk about it? Because I don't just want to have a straight talking head all the time. I mean, I enjoy doing talking head, but I do believe that when we have something visually on the screen, it does help. And this, what you're looking at, this entire website was built by Claudia with the brand guide within 5 minutes. So when I say I'm never using PowerPoint again, another video coming up, to me, PowerPoint is dead. Long live the website. So when you think about how you can do it, it's about describing it. Now, I'm not a coder. I know basic parts of coding when it comes to SQL, JavaScript, TypeScript, etc. But I'm not a coder at heart. But I have found that when you can structure things correctly and problem solve, that's when you can really build on from there. So you've got your 5 levels. Now, where do you sit? So here we have sort of the 5 levels. The chatbot, the custom chatbot, adding automation and workflows, agentic AI into fully integrated. So have a think about it. Where do you sit? Think about your biggest time drain, your most repetitive task, your biggest frustration. That's where the AI integration starts. So for me, the biggest thing is going to be, it's not how can I integrate AI into my business. It's first identifying what is it that's your biggest drain when it comes to process, automation, admin. Because what we need to do is inject more human into our lives, reduce the admin. And so, and I think this is, what Claudia's put in there. The future isn't about doing more with AI. It's being more human because of it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm very excited about the future of AI, and I'm really focused on making sure that we always be centered on how we can be more human when we integrate AI, not allowing AI to take over, but partnering, augmenting. In the video description, I'll put in the sources, plus a link to a free resource off my website about this video. And if you enjoyed it, hit the thumbs up, hit subscribe, share it with someone that you might know. And if you want to work with me, drop me a line, talk to me up, check out the website, and I'll see you in the next video.
Service activated.